Thank you for asking me. As I look over the history of my years here, there have been some interesting events. One of the main events is the joining of the Union Presbyterian Church. They were having a little trouble. They were it was a large, pretty healthy congregation, but they were having trouble with coping at the direction of their building. And they looked at their spreadsheet and they didn't like what they saw, so they wanted to join with another congregation. So after many, many, many different meetings and sort of trials, and they decided to join us, so they sold their building and everybody came on over to here. It was quite a wonderful addition to the life of our congregation. So Union Presbyterian Church is still represented here by the fact that there are 2 baptismal fonts in the sanctuary, and that there's some of the material we use for communion is theirs, and they have served as just an indispensable, active group of folks in our congregation. So that in the last 10 years has been a really significant boost of the energy to our congregation. The second thing was, of course, the building program that is also a wonderful symbol because it's sort of changed from the inside. Because of the zoning rules and regulations around here, we had to not change too much on the interior, but we revolutionized the interior of the church, which is sort of what God calls us to, these interior revolutions. So we used some of the same beams, we used a lot of the same material and reorganized it into a dramatically different space. The space was chopped up into lots of tiny little education rooms, and we developed a wonderful new presentation space, a covenant hall, and some really state-of-the-art education rooms, and just a really whole different feeling that can be used by the community in different ways. So I think that the covenant hall and the renovations of the First Future program, the joining of Union Presbyterian Church. And the third thing that happened was really our engagement with the community. In terms of Jazz Vespers, in terms of groups, the reading program, the groups that use on a really regular basis our facilities. When I first came here, we were dark most nights. Nothing was happening here. And now, of course, COVID with the exceptions, until COVID happened, something was happening here almost every night. So the community has come here and seen this as a place that's in their heart. And we have all sorts of groups, art groups of all types. Some of them you might hear in the background now. This is a representative of the fact that people are seeing this church as their home, which is how we want to have people think of this place and churches in general as a home for their life. So we have the community organization, the Stockade Association, meets here every month. We've had groups that haven't found hospitality in other places that have ended up on our doorsteps. And we are so happy to have them, because that's what a church is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a place for people to gather and to reason together and to find a peace in a sanctuary. So if you need a place for your group or for you personally, come on in, sit down in the sanctuary, understand the space to be God speaking to you, or the different spaces. So in my tenure here, we've become much more porous to the community. We've had the joining of this other church, and we've done this major renovation, somewhat as an outgrowth of our engagement with the community. I think those are the 3 big things that happened while I was here. Oh gosh. I do love the 8th chapter of Romans. It's just so complex. It has so many different things about our hope. The 8th chapter of Romans goes on and on. I mean, we say it at funerals all the time. But it does represent sort of the basic lines of what we are about and what we are called to in God's final triumph in our lives. Well, one of the power of religion and Scripture in particular is its ability to speak to us at different times in different ways. Some scriptures that mean something to us at one point mean something else to us at a different point. And I found that true with the benediction. Sometimes, like in life, sometimes when you say goodbye, it's a relief. Sometimes when you say goodbye, there's sadness. And in the very way that we say goodbye in different ways, the benediction has a different flavor to it. It is a command. My benediction is mostly a command. It's mostly a melange that has been around as a benediction for a long time. It's not completely scriptural, but it has very traditional in its understanding. And I'll say it just so that you can remember it. Go out into the world in peace. Give no person evil for evil. That's one of the hardest ones. Go out in the world in peace. Give no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. And this year I added, because of a friend of mine who added one that was very important, a young person, added honor all people. So I learned from this that this was important, that we had to say it again. So I added honor all people. And may the blessings of God, Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer, be with you now and always. So in my past, that might be interesting. I was once president of a Jewish fraternity house on the campus of the University of Illinois. I'm not exactly sure how I got elected, but I was the chancellor, the head of a Jewish fraternity. I was one of only 2 goyim in the whole house. And I think when I joined, they thought I might be Jewish because my name was Levering. I'm not sure. But as it turned out, I had a great time. I learned so much about community and the vibrancy of the Jewish life in that fraternity. So I cherish and love that. But most people don't know that Bill Levering was once the president of a Jewish fraternity. What would I like the new pastor to know? Oh, that the work is incomplete, and to not take things that I did as definitive, change the world differently. One of the reasons that I'm retiring is that there's a need for a new vision. I'm a bald white guy, and new things need to happen in the world, and I look forward to that. So I would like the next person to know that I sort of expect them to do it differently than I did, and that's just okay. Oh, my eyebrows. I really want everyone to remember how beautiful, if you could look how wonderful my eyebrows are, and if you could remember that, it would I don't know. I think that the gospel has a complexity that is drama and comedy all at once, that involves so much of us. And I sometimes have had a lighter touch, or will tell a joke, because I believe that faith talks about so much of our life, and that we can sometimes get to deeper levels when we find the lighter levels. And in your life, if going to church is becoming just a little bit of a drag, then I would say find the lighter elements, find the elements that bring you joy, because God is about bringing us joy. Jesus says, I have come that my joy would be in you and that your joy would be complete. And we don't take that too seriously enough. And so as I remember, I think if I want to be remembered, I would be remembered as the person who wanted to bring Christ's joy into